Hi, guys, and welcome to Keep Hope Alive podcast. We are in season 10, and we have another great guest for you. His name is Chris Mitchell, and I'm so excited. We have him on today, and he's just done a lot of stuff in his life. So he's been a speaker, he has a book coming out, and he has his own health journey he's been through, which you're going to share about that as well. But before we get started, my famous question is, how many weddings have you actually been to in the last 10 years?
It's a round number. It's very round. It's circular. It's a zero.
We could do 15. Oh, it's a big zero. Oh my goodness.
Yes, that's a round
Well,
number.
it is a round number. Well, does it help if I say 20 years?
Okay. If you say 21, we're good.
21. Then 21 years?
Yeah, 21 years. That was one wedding. That was my wedding to my wife. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I'm going to ask you one other question. And believe it or not, this question is a wedding question.
Okay.
And there's so many different answers, you never go wrong. But
Okay.
okay, so hear me out. When you have your ceremony, people are going through the door, and usually there's something to sign. What is that something they're signing?
Since I went in the back door, I have no idea. But I'm gonna say it's a guest book that they would be signing.
Yay! Yes, the guest book. So lifeonrecord.com is Keep Hope Alive's biggest sponsor right now. And what they do is instead of having that book, they give a vintage a rotary phone and put it there. So your guests can pick it up and leave a message, and you're collecting all those voices. And that's the best gift ever. So they get to leave you a message. There's also a QR code they can scan with their own cell phone, and they can leave a message, either before or after that event. And then what happens, they collect all the messages from the guests. They can either burn those messages on a 12-inch vinyl record, or it's like a keepsake speaker, which I keep calling a boom box, like the boom box. I'm renaming it here. And then you get that. So, like, if you're celebrating your 1 year anniversary, you know how you have to save the top of the cake, maybe get that out and listen to all those voices and everything. So, they may make it very easy. Plans only start at $99. You get that phone number for a year. So, not the phone, but the phone number. So I tell people, if you're using this for a wedding, just call back before their 1 year anniversary and collect more messages to have added on and everything. But to find out more information about them, please visit www.lifeonrecord.com. All right, Chris. Who is Chris? We want to know.
First, thank you very much for allowing me to be a guest today and speaking with you and your wonderful audience. Second, your sponsor, wonderful people. I have never done business with. I love the idea. That is so retro, and I'm an '80s guy. That's one thing you need to know about me. I grew up in the '80s. I love '80s. I don't watch anything but '80s movies, TV shows. If you said to me a name of somebody who's on a current show, I would say who's they, because unless they were making movies and stuff in the 1980s, I am clueless because I lived the 80s. I have 80s. I actually have 80s music playing in my ears right now while we're doing this interview because I love the 80s that much. But beyond being an 80s guy, I am a person who was born with multiple disabilities, and I acquired a few more in my life. I'm a person that was born with complications from CRS, which not all that common today, but back in my day when I was a child, before the 80s, I CRS is congenital rubella syndrome, and I was affected by that. My mom was exposed to German measles, and I was born with some of the birth defects from it. Now, I could have been born with mental retardation, hearing loss, vision loss, other complications. I was very fortunate. I only had slight vision loss. I was not totally blind. And I have a constricted aorta, and so I'm legally blind. My vision is 20/20. 2,200 in my left eye and 2,300 in my right. I can't really read out of my right eye unless it's a giant billboard or the McDonald's sign. Everybody knows what McDonald's looks like, right? And as I grew up, we discovered I had a severe speech impediment, which I had to get into speech therapy before preschool. And then while I was in public school, we discovered I was neurodiverse. I have ADHD, which nobody. I tell them I have ADHD. Not a single person have said, gee, I'm surprised. I never knew that. Yes, I was invited to seek education elsewhere after second grade, the 10th day of my freshman year, and twice in two different colleges. So I've had that happen to me a lot. I also battle mental health issues. I battle depression. That's hard to believe because when I'm on an interview like this, I'm very high energy. I used to work in morning radio, so you can't be depressed in morning radio. Nobody's going to want to wake up and hear somebody depressed in the morning. They're going to crawl back in bed and not go to work. That's bad. And in my early 30s, right before I got married, actually, tying your spouse and your theme here, I survived an ischemic stroke to my spinal cord, which is an incomplete spinal cord injury, and it robbed me of my ability to run, walk, or even stand. Just literally about 11 months, 10 and a half months before my wedding date while I was engaged.
Oh my goodness. I'm just like taking this all in. It's different when you say it besides writing it, and just like, boy, I mean, where did you find the hope in that trial, I guess is what I'm looking at.
Sure. Where was my hope during this time that, let's be
Trapper.
honest, could be a very dark and scary time for you? Because it is. Your whole world is turned upside down. You're engaged, and you want to give to your mate the happily ever after. And I don't want hate mail. This is not meant to be sexist, but that women dream of that happily ever after. I think women dream about that more than men do. But again, please don't hate me for that. Anyway,
I don't hate
and
you
you,
for
you
that.
want to give and you want to give that to the person that you love, and you want to have that with that person. And there
Hmm.
was a lot of questions at that point in my life, like, am I ever going to be able to go home? Am I going to be in long-term care the rest of my life? Is she going to leave me? Now, I was very fortunate, and I never had that latter question, because when we started dating, as I mentioned, I'm visually impaired. She knew I was visually impaired. I had a white cane, so I never doubted that because I knew God put her in my life knowing what my disability was, because that helped me find the right woman who would stand by me through whatever happened. Because with my disability while I was dating, which I don't do anymore since I'm married, it's a really bad idea to do while you're married. Don't do that. I did get probably rejected by some girls because of my disability, and that does hurt. But I think my visual disability, helped me find the right woman who would be there during that time in my life. And where did my hope come from? Well, two things. One, my faith. I am a man of faith. I'm a Christian. And one of my favorite scriptures, it's kind of hard to see in the wall behind me. I don't know if it's a video podcast or not, but it is behind me.
It
And
is.
it says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that has always been a very big thing I've leaned on. No matter what happens in my life, all my challenges I face, I knew I can get through them with Christ on my side, through Christ. And being a person that has a lot of self-confidence, I focus in on self-confidence and knowing that I faced other challenges in my life before, and that gave me the confidence and the hope that I'm going to be able to get through this. I'm not sure what at that point I did not know what it's going to look like, but I knew I could do it because of the confidence that I had and my faith.
Good, 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 good. That was beautiful. That is well said. I mean, look at you. I mean, of course, with any health issues, you'll sink into a depression. It's sad, For me, I have different challenges in my life, and I just before this episode, they just called me and said, "Hey, your new medicine is not covered at all. It's like $200," and I'm like, "Whoa, that's something." Am I gonna just withdraw from the free samples? I mean, I don't even know how to get it. And they said even with the good RX card, you can't get it. So you have to get through those and go through the emotions of what you have and everything. But I do relate to you in one way. So I grew up with epilepsy. I have a stimulator in my back to make my leg move a little bit more. They have so many things they can't find out what's wrong with me. I'm just a big question mark in the world. But dating and finding somebody, I've been honest, hey, I do have a stimulator in my back. I'm controlled by my phone. I charge myself like a battery. So if somebody goes, "You're a robot," no, I can't be with you. I go, "I'm not no robot." You know, I'm a human being still, but I have been let go. They didn't want to deal with that. But I'm human. I have love in my heart. So, it's just finding that one person. And as honest as I can be, I will let them know these are my challenges that I do face. If you can be by my side, that's great. That's wonderful. I'll move forward. And it takes a little piece of that wall down, doesn't it? Yeah. So. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you as well. I mean, but you've been able to learn from all this and everything, and I bet your wedding was beautiful. So,
It was unique because I'm a unique type of guy. It was not in a church, it was actually in an Italian restaurant.
that's good. I'm a certified wedding planner. I've been doing this for over 25 years. So, I mean, it's either, the big luxury wedding or the
Mhm.
courthouse wedding, but even nice restaurants, you can get married anywhere. I can
Yeah,
marry somebody in the backyard. So, but it's about two people uniting and coming together. So that's the
absolutely.
biggest thing. Yeah. So, but I'm very happy for you guys. That's awesome. So, I want to ask you a question about your vision too.
Right.
How did you know your vision was getting like off and on? Did you start having floaters or was it like a white spot? What did you see at the
None of the
time?
above because I was born with a
None.
visual disability. So
Oh,
I've been
okay.
there since birth. So it's not like it came on. I came out of my mom's womb and my vision was already what it is.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So it's a
Gotcha.
birth
Gotcha.
defect. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. So, oh, that's hard. So, looking at the computer and doing podcast with me right now. I
Mhm.
just like I want to know, is there anything that helps you see me or what I'm talking about? Like, what is it like for you now?
It's very hard to answer that question. People have asked me that before, and it's hard to, and I'll tell you why. I don't have a point of reference. This is how I've been in my entire life. I can't explain that to you because I don't know what normal vision is. So to me, this is normal. I've always adapted to it. I mean, I just see the way that I do.
Okay.
A lot of people do this, whether they visually impaired or not. Especially in the disabled community, I have my office set up where the lighting works for me. I mean, some people do better with a lot of lighting. Some people do better with minimal light. My mom can read almost in the dark, and I'm like, Mom, you're gonna ruin your eyes. She's been doing that for 85 years, so I'm giving up on
85
that. But
years.
yes, that's how old she is. So um, she'll love me for sharing that. Anyway, but
Oh no, no, she's
I
young.
just set things up that way. When I work on my computer, I like
Hmm.
to have the when I'm writing a document in Microsoft Word, I like to have the font at like 14 or 16 points. I do that in my email and all. So when I was a kid, back in the 70s, we had a
Hmm.
rotary phone, which you mentioned earlier from that wonderful sponsor of yours. We actually had
Yes.
a rotary phone, and my parents got this cardboard cutout to put around the phone that had larger numbers on it so I could see it. And I took
Nice.
it off and I told my parents, I don't want to use that. They asked me why, and I said, the world is not going to adapt to me. I got to learn to adapt to it. So I just found ways to adapt to the world that's made for sighted people for a person who is visually impaired. And I just never let that be an obstacle for me. And how I do
Hmm.
it, I really can't describe it. I just figure out a way to do it. People who are persons with disabilities were great at problem solvers because we have to do that all the time to um, create accommodations or make things more accessible for us that are not accessible by nature or by the default design.
Yeah, definitely. I hear you. So it's just adapting to everything. And
Yeah.
you said you help the disabled community. How did you get into that?
Mm.
Yeah, the water's important. Been drinking
That's
a lot
fine.
of
I
water too.
also have diabetes, so I got to drink. And
Mm,
this is water. Trust me, I don't drink anything else
I
when I'm
know. I'm
doing this.
either a Coca-Cola person or water, but I've been so dehydrated lately. I'm just like downing as much water as I
Well,
can.
the
So
soda would dehydrate you more, so you're gonna want
I
to stick to
know, but
water
it's
on that.
caffeine. It's
No, I know, but that's they say
I
it's bad for
know.
you.
Stop on risk.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, I just and being a part of the disabled community, you know, I just naturally like helping people. There are a lot of wonderful people who helped me as a child, through my challenges and all. And I just find it very rewarding to help people. I got involved by it. When I was in college, I was part of what was called the Able Disabled Association at our local college, and we primarily had disabled people in the club, but we welcomed non-disabled to kind of build a community. And I was president of that. I helped with some of the fundraising events that we did, and I just naturally love helping people, and that's one of the
Oh,
things I feel very called to do. That came from my childhood, when I was in church on Sunday morning, Sunday school. This may come as a surprise, but I was a handful for the Sunday school teacher. So one of the other adults would come and get me out of the Sunday school class, and we walk around the building, and I got to help collect attendance cards. That's the first time I really got to help somebody. And I loved
okay.
it so much. And I went, this is for me. I want to help people. And we had a bus driver at that time, a school bus driver. She listened to the radio, 55 KSD when it was AM 55 in St. Louis. And I loved it so much. I said, I want to work in morning radio to help people feel happy on their way to work. So it's been a part of me to always want to help and serve people. And I chose to serve the disabled community because I'm a member of the community. And with my challenges that I faced, I can better connect with the people in that community who are facing similar challenges and share my years of wisdom and experience to help them navigate the challenges they're facing today. And I love doing that.
Yeah, definitely. Because when you can speak about it, you're being heard. And somebody else out there in the world is going to be hearing this story. And, you're probably giving that motivation push. You can keep on going in life and aim hard, positive thinking. And, if there is a stumble in the road, it's a learning lesson, and you go from there. So, but other than that, and it sounds like with working in the disabled community, what can you give me an example of the different things that you have done actually? I'm digging here.
That's fine. That's fine. I don't mind you digging. You mean within the community, helping people? What exactly are you asking
Is it
what
just
I've done? Because
more
I've done a
like
lot in my life. Some of it I don't mind talking about. Some I'm kind of like, I'm embarrassed I did that.
hey, I have embarrassing stories too. You share one, I can share one.
Yeah, yeah. So, and what I've done a lot in my life. One of the things I'm very proud of, and I love sharing this story with people, is in the disabled community, being become traditionally employed, gainful employment is very challenging. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Some people would say because of discrimination. Some people would say if you live in an area that does not have public transportation, getting to and from a job is going to be difficult, or getting
Yeah.
reasonable accommodation for a job. Or let's say you have some chronic pain, you have to take additional breaks. Some companies are not fond of giving you that extra break. They're supposed to by law, but they're not fond of it. So the challenges to that. And that includes visually impaired. You appear visually impaired. Some companies be afraid of hiring you because they're thinking that's going to be a liability. That's going to mean extra expenses for us. Is he going to be good at what he does? But I managed to convince the company um, that I want to work. I want to work at this company real badly. I wanted to work as a customer service rep for an internet company, and I convinced this company to hire me while I was holding my white cane in my hand when they were not hiring anyone at all. And I was able to convince them to take a chance and hire me. And that is something I'm very proud of, and I love sharing. how I did that with people in the disabled community. So they know if they want to become gainfully employed, if and a lot of people say that's hard to do, you won't be able to get a job. It can be done, and I know it can be done because I've done it.
Good, 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 good. I love that. That's great. And you don't ever let that stop you, whatsoever. And, flashing back on my life, I grew up with epilepsy, and my goodness, if I had a seizure at work or even at home and I had to take off, it feels like I'm getting pointed a certain thing. Okay, she's not here. But, I didn't ask to have a seizure. I didn't promote this thing to come and hit me and have all my doctors go, okay, A, B, C, D, E, you got to go get this done. And then, it makes me question, when you take jobs, you get health insurance, right? So
Mhm.
you're paying for the health insurance, but like you have to go and seeing what's wrong, you got to take those steps too. So, but it just seems like you can't miss work. Now, if we could all get the doctors to work in the evening, I guess that would be better, right?
Yeah,
So we wouldn't get
yeah.
in trouble at work.
Well, we work night jobs. I love working night shift, swinging night shifts. I love that because with my neurodiverse, I have ADHD. I do much better when I'm further away I am from management, the more likely I'm able to keep my job. So I don't like working nights. That was my favorite thing to do.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So that's very that's awesome. So I know I guess you have a book coming out real soon
Yes, I do.
too.
Well, it depends on when
So
this is
tell us.
dropped. It's either coming out or has already come out. So it depends. But yeah, it's coming out late February, early March, be out before the Easter Bunny comes. That's what I told you before we began recording. And it's
Yeah, the
called,
Easter Bunny.
yeah, March 31st. It's early this year.
What is your book called? What's
And
the
my
name
book
of
is
it?
called Success Starts with Self-Confidence, 10 Steps to Confidence for the Self-Employed Person with a Disability. And it's based upon what I've learned over my very lengthy life that helped me develop and grow, discover, develop, and grow the self-confidence I have today. And I wrote this for people with disabilities, but anyone can read this, whether you're self-employed or not, and learn techniques to develop and grow your self-confidence, because it took me a long time to get to where and I don't want to see anybody take 30 years to get to where I am. So I wrote the book, the steps that I did in hopes that will help other people knowing it will, so they can get to a successful point in life a lot quicker and a lot sooner than I did.
That's really, really good. So, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I mean, I've talked to other authors and stuff, and one of them had a book called "You Haven't Written a Book Yet," I think was the title. But it's just getting the initiative to get out there. And I talk to other people after I do my shows too. I go, would you ever write a book? I want a ghostwriter. I go, me too. But I'll listen to books on Audible, but then I've been sent some paperback books and it's amazing because I'm actually holding them and reading them at night. So I mean, still I go both ways, but as much as you can learn about that, it's great. So is it going to be like sent to Amazon or Barnes and
Yes.
Noble?
It's going to be on Amazon, or it is on Amazon. It's in paperback and it's in Kindle format, or will be.
Kindle format?
Right. I love Kindle because then with my vision, one, I don't lose the book. Two, it does not clutter up my office with more books. And three, most importantly, I can increase the font to something that's easy for me to read because some of the paperback books really did you have to print it in font size 8? Some of them really
Yeah,
tiny. And so it's in that. And later on this year, I plan to have an Audible format of it. I love Audible books; those are great. Um,
yeah,
I, and all, and I love the ones that are done and read by the actual author because of the fact you get to hear their own inflections of it and the way it was intended to be read. So I love audible books that are read by the author, and somebody who looks a lot like me, okay, it's me, will probably be narrating my own books because I find that really interesting when I'm a listener, and I would like my audience and my tribe to have the same experience of hearing in my own voice and my own words and my own inflections.
Yeah, I like your voice too.
Thank you.
Like, I mean, I was born in New Jersey, but it's kind of taking me back. That's why I asked you, "Oh, you from?" So,
Yeah, you thought I was on the East Coast. I'm in Missouri, actually. So
I did. I thought you had a
I have that
little East
nationwide
Coast.
voice. 'Cause I've done some
The
work in
East,
radio. So yeah,
I know, that's what you were saying. So, the working in radio part was amazing. So definitely. And then you have a podcast as well,
yes, I do.
correct?
Yes, I do.
Good.
Called um, Successful, Self Employed, and Disabled. And I bet you from that title, you can guess who the guests are.
Well, yeah,
Successful people who are self
successful
employed and
people that are
disabled.
disabled. Yeah.
Yeah. So the title tells you what type of guests are on there. It is an interview format. We get successful people who are self-employed and disabled. Can I say that another time? Probably not. On there to share their journey of how they created this success, how they started their businesses, why they did it, and the role self-confidence that played in it. And it's not only just for people who are um, considering or aspiring to be self-employed persons with disabilities, or for those that are self-employed and disabled, is for others in the disabled community or those that have an interest in the disabled community to learn about a disabled owned business or nonprofit that they can support, because it's important to support businesses, especially businesses in the community that you are a member of. So we do that as well. We give our guests an opportunity to promote what they're doing, and you, the listener, to learn about an awesome business that you may wish to support.
Hey, let's bring all of the people over there and do a podcast. So we'll bring each one and we could do a big Zoom and they can
Yes.
announce their companies and everything. So
Right.
that would be really cool. So that is awesome. But yeah, with the podcast now, your book, it doesn't define me. Is
Yes.
that the title?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes,
I
that was
love
my
that.
second book. Yes.
Your second book. Okay, there
Yeah.
we go. It doesn't define me. And I've said that word before. I live with chronic pain and
Mhm.
I could be at a 10 plus of pain, but I don't have tears coming out of my eyes. I mean, I'm grinding my teeth like, ah, I've had kidney stones recently and I had to get surgery, but that was a lot of pain. And I feel like when you go in the ER or something, they just kind of like, how can she be in pain? Did you drive yourself? I was like, yeah, I did. I wanted to come to the farther ER because you guys are better. But definitely. So it's just one of those things. But um, now when you go out, to do public speaking? Is it more
Mhm.
at schools or corporate events or health like shows?
Right now, it's none. I do a lot of virtual because of COVID. And my wife,
Okay.
we've not talked about her that much. We've been married 20 years, wonderful marriage. She is now battling stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. So we stay home a
Oh,
lot right now. So I'm able to take care of her and be available for doctor's appointments. But in the past, I've spoken to support groups, I've spoken at libraries, those type of events, and all. And where I live, there's not a lot of corporate offices. We're in a rural area, but I have not rolled that out. But yeah, I do speaking. A lot of it virtual right now, and I have done some in the past, and I look forward to doing some in the future. Right now, I'm just trying to get our lives not to be too hectic and crazy.
oh, I know, I know. And my prayers go to you and your wife and
Thank you.
everything. So, I mean, yeah, I've learned about that and working with the different, people for charities. Do you guys do that? I mean, I know you're helping your community out
Mhm.
with the small businesses, but is there any charities that you help out at all?
And there's some that my wife and I give to helping out. I'm not against working with a charity or nonprofit. In fact, if I do, um, I usually charge less because I like to help out nonprofits and because they don't have a lot of money in times. Sometimes I'll do it for free if I'm able
Yeah.
to promote my book or whatever. So it's negotiable and all. But
Yeah,
some of the
yeah.
charities that are very important to me are obviously the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation.
Yes.
I don't get paid for saying these names. Okay. So I want to
Yeah.
disclaim that here. But the American Heart Association, because I'm a heart patient. Cystic
Mhm.
fibrosis. I had a really good friend who passed away from CF, so that's very important to me as well. And Diabetes Foundation, not only because I'm diabetic, my wife's diabetic, my cat's diabetic. Can you believe that? My cat has diabetes,
Your
but my mother,
cat. Wow.
yes, yeah, my mother fed him too much snacks and he became diabetic. So now I have a diabetic cat. And my mother-in-law had diabetes as well. So that's another thing that's very, very close to us. So
Yeah.
we're involved in all of those things and support those
Yeah. So
either
I know,
financially and over prayers.
yeah. So being diabetic, I was diabetic and then I went and got the gastric sleeve and I guess they had to go back in and fix something. And I go, well, if you're going to go back and do the bypass too. But
Mhm.
it did get rid of my diabetes.
Oh,
And
okay,
I didn't
cool.
have to do the insulin shot in my
Hmm.
stomach anymore.
Right.
But you know, I still, even after, I guess it's been five years now, no diabetes, I am scared to death it's gonna come back. And I'm like, I don't want to go through that again because with epilepsy, it was giving me seizures nonstop. That's how
Hmm.
I found out I was diabetic.
Mm. Okay.
They couldn't figure it out. Oh, it's her sugars. Da, 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 da. So, yeah, like the drinking Coca-Cola, like we talked about. I'm like, no, it's
Mhm.
just the caffeine.
But the
It's either
sugar is
that
what
or
you got to
chocolate
watch
or
out
coffee.
for. I'll
I
tell you, I used to
know.
drink, and this is scary, a 12 pack of Pepsi a day, which was stupid. As Alf said on his show when he was drinking a lot of soda and they asked him, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm attempting diabetes." That's what I was doing at 12 cans of Pepsi a day. It was stupid. Wonderful product. It was a stupid decision on my part. I'm now down to 2 cans a week, and I have them on Friday night when I have pizza. The rest of the week, I drink water
Yes,
or I
with
drink milk.
pizza and popcorn.
Yeah, and
I'm
popcorn.
like,
You can't
and
have popcorn
popcorn.
without Pepsi or soda, and you can't have pizza without Pepsi or soda. Those are the
Yeah.
only two times I will have Pepsi. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's all water.
I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try to do that. I'm gonna make a challenge for myself. Only
Yeah.
when I have pizza or popcorn, I'll have a soda. So,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I've
Yeah.
stopped now. It's been 2 days, but I get more headaches from taking away the caffeine, and I'm like, oh no,
That will go away in
But
time,
that's
I'm sure.
yeah, it's just one of those
You're
things. Like when
detoxing, it
you
sounds
go and
like.
decide to get that surgery, they take it away. So. But yeah, definitely. Now, you said you're an 80s guy. I gotta
Yes, ma'am.
ask, what is
Yes.
your favorite 80s songs?
Oh, Sue Studio by Phil Collins.
Mm,
Love that song.
yeah, definitely.
Uh,
That is
I
I
made
miss
I
Phil
made a
Collins.
list once of my 100 favorite songs in the 1980s. I was volunteering through the Big Brothers Big Sisters. I had a little. Actually, he was a lunch buddy, and he liked 80s too because I liked him. I guess I don't know, but he liked 80s. So I said I'm gonna make you a list of my 100 favorite 80s songs, and number one was "Sue Studio" by Phil Collins.
Nice. That is a really cool song. Studio.
Studio. Oh
I do
yeah.
karaoke and I every time it's Halloween, I'll dress up like the 80s.
Ah.
So, and I just love it. It's like on my TikTok, you can see it. If you scroll through, you'll see me singing like Madonna song or
Mhm.
something. But usually at karaoke, I'm doing 80s songs and some 90s. So,
Now, the
but
coolest 80s costume I've seen is somebody made themselves look like a Rubik's Cube.
that's cool. That's cool. I wonder if they try to come and for today's age, I saw somebody get a cardboard box
Hmm.
and they made it into a TV, but it was YouTube.
Oh,
And
you
he
too,
was
huh?
just kind of like, yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
that's so cool. That is very clever. So,
I've seen one person take a cardboard box and make him look like a cell phone.
I know, right? And I love you, Dad, but you and your flip phone, you need to upgrade. So I give him a hard time on that all the time. So I'm so happy. Like, how often do you put out your podcast shows?
The podcast goes out once a week on Tuesdays, and we do
Okay, good.
40 episodes a year. So June, July, and August, we don't have any episodes. Every once in a while, yeah, I got to catch my breath. So we do about 40 of them a year, and they every Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. Central, they drop the audio, and around 2 or 3 p.m. that same day on my YouTube channel, the video format of the podcast drops.
Oh, wow. That is so cool. Oh, wow. I started this back in April and just the response, I think before I logged into your podcast, it was like, you have 96 episodes. I'm like, okay, bring it on.
Yeah.
Let's get it done. I feel like, how many more am I gonna get for 2024? But the way this is going, it's helping people, and that's what I want to be known for, is trying to create that platform to help people. So, but yeah, and I'm so happy you got to share your story on Keep Hope Alive. So this is amazing. I feel like I'm missing some questions because you are so interesting and you've been through
Thank you.
so many things, but you're just a positive energy and giving back to your community. That's amazing. So, and taking care of your wife is amazing too. So,
And my
but I
diabetic
love,
cat.
and oh yeah, the diabetic
Yeah,
cat.
yeah.
My dog is so fat. I'm sorry, Gizmo, if you can hear me, but I got this little Yorkie. My mom wanted to have a Yorkie,
Hmm.
and we went to like a PetSmart, and there was a
Right.
bunch of Yorkies, and I'm like, "Oh, Mom, get up here really quick!" And I was holding this one, and I didn't want to let him go, and then I really couldn't let him go because he peed all over my shirt, and I'm trying to hide it till my mom got there, and she got her dog. And I remember when the lady asked me, "Are you going to get that dog?" And his little paw went like this to my hand. I was like, "Yeah." I knew I was going to get in trouble when I got home. But we named him Gizmo, and he
Uh,
he was skinny. He was very skinny when I
Now,
got him.
does that name
But
come
he,
from the 80s?
yeah,
I
Gizmo.
figured it. I think that's from a Gremlins movie,
Gremlin.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
I think they're making Gremlins 3
I think
this
they may be. I
year.
don't know. They may be.
Yes. Yeah, it's funny because I showed my son and my daughter when they were younger, the Gremlins. Oh, you gotta watch this and Goonies. And those were the good time shows and E.T. and they're like, my son just doesn't stay still for a movie. And that's a weird concept for me. I was always in front of, TV, but look at now, they have all these Xbox, PlayStation, da 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 da. And you could play with it. Anybody, have your friends all on the same game. It's just mind blowing to me. I used to make forts outside. Like,
Yeah.
and when it snowed, it was equally little thing. Have
Yeah.
snowball fights in fall, raking up the leaves and jumping in it and praying God you didn't hit any dog do. Those were the fun times.
And never jump into a wet pile of leaves. Oh, and never jump into a pile of leaves with a wet sucker. Linus.
Oh, oh, okay,
From the
gotcha.
Peanuts uh
Yes.
Great Pumpkin, or
Yeah.
the Thanksgiving, one of the two. That was the life lesson he learned. Never jump
Yeah.
into a pile of leaves with a wet sucker.
That's awesome. I remember in New Jersey growing up, my grandfather would ride his bike over to our house, and he's like, life lessonating. Don't ever, ever eat yellow snow. It's not
Yeah.
flavoring. I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. That's a good bit of
Yes,
advice.
it is. It is, and you always dust your room to make your mom happy. Mm.
And we just had all of our snow here melted today, so
We
we're happy.
did. We got snow is like maybe a dot,
Hmm.
but it's still like in the back alley, it hasn't fully melted. And I'm like, why? It reached up to like 50 degrees today. That stuff should be melted and gone. But I think it's
Yeah.
just in the shade and no sun is hitting it. Maybe the ground is still cold. So, but definitely. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. And I
Thank you for having me.
also, did I cover everything? I hope so. I
I
got to
think
get my
so.
mommy glasses on. Okay. Well, I also want to thank our other sponsors that make Keep Hope Alive special and rewarding and everything. As we talked about before, it was lifeonrecord.com, your interactive guest book. We also have Bridal Shows Inc.com. So if you're in the Dallas Fort Worth area and you're planning a special event, corporate or wedding, you can go meet a bunch of vendors, get to see what they offer, maybe get pricing or set up that meeting with them and get to see some fashion shows. It's a lot of fun. I think they do 5 out of the year, so you can check them out too. Miles and Smiles Events.com. Deborah Rose, her background is she's an investigator, but she does handwriting analysis and lipstick readings, and she's accurate. That's the key word. She's accurate, right on the nose. I love it because people like me and others that I've seen, their mouth drops open like, oh my gosh, how did she know this about me? But she's making these new events a lot of fun. So check them out. Our next one is Ogden Ventures LLC, and that is our newest one. And I know he is an ex-football player for a couple teams out there, but he does more public speaking now. So I want to welcome him. So that's ogdenventures.com. And then we have Bryce Harney. And right now he's traveling all over the United States. I think shows he's a magician and he's a mind mentalist reader, but you can find him at brycemagic.com. We also have richmondpunch.net. He is a violinist and he's been doing it for a lot of years. Graduated from the Juilliards and has played in front of 1 million people and a couple of TV shows he had appearances on. And then we have our last one, TK Hair Salon. So they are located in Plano, Texas. So if you're going through, like you said, you've been around here in Allen and Plano, they opened up. They do a great job. Haircuts for men, women, and children, hair coloring, facial, everything. So check them out at tkhairsalon.com. So other than that, Keep Hope Alive does have a phone number. If you have any questions for Chris, you can give us a call at 833-780-HOPE, which is 4673. So give us that message, and wherever you guys find your podcast, you'll be able to find Keep Hope Alive. Until then, guys, thank you, Chris, so much for coming on.
Thank you for
And
having me.
yes, definitely. And we will see you guys next time at our next show. So, love and light, guys. Bye bye.